New reporting indicates that a freshman member of Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is not only a QAnon conspiracy theorist, but had posted stuff that Tucker Carlson would like you to forget about regarding her political opponents and how she would like to see them dead. I'm not even exaggerating. This is the kind of stuff that she was posting on social media or liking on social media before she even ran for Congress. This is a few years ago, but it's relevant because the individuals that these comments were targeting are currently working with her, alongside her in Congress. And I'll give you the details. In one Facebook post from April of 2018, Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote conspiratorially about the Iran deal, one of the former President Barack Obama's signature foreign policy achievements. A commenter asked Greene, now, do we get to hang them? Meaning H and O, referring to Obama and Hillary Clinton. Greene replied, quote, stage is being set, players are being put in place. We must be patient. This must be done perfectly or liberal judges would let them off. She also liked a comment that urged for Civil War 2.0 to begin. So that's who she is.
Pretty clear.
Very clear. And I mean, that's just some of what CNN found through her social media posts, dating back to before she ran for Congress. And so there is some movement among Democratic lawmakers to get her taken off of committee assignments. She is in the Committee for Education, and I don't know, I wouldn't want her making any types of decisions that would impact children or education. As someone who's a QAnon conspiracy theorist, obviously she doesn't have the best judgment when it comes to credible sources of information. But people like Tucker Carlson love to pretend like QAnon conspiracy theories aren't a problem at all. That the fact that we have members of Congress who believe in QAnon conspiracy theories is not a problem at all. And I'll go to him in just a minute, but John, I wanted to give you a chance to jump in.
Yeah, I'm so sick of her as the incarnation of this entire thing. The fact that she actually made it is it just makes me so depressed for the state of America and where we're going, that like the bar is buried beneath the ground for what you have to be or have accomplished to become an elected representative. Like the stage is being set. The pieces are being put in. That's just like, you all know people you probably went to high school with on Facebook that post stuff like that. She's just an average dumb person who accepts every conspiracy theory that's put before. And I feel like I've already talked about this so many times this year, but it's just gonna keep going because we're finding out worse and worse stuff about her. Like, I guess now, the fact that she believes that virtually everyone in power in DC and Hollywood is a Satanist who rapes children, that's, I guess, less concerning than the fact that she's directly supported calls for violence against her political opponents. Like, we were just talking about the need for security in the Capitol and how AOC is worried about some of her colleagues, and Tucker Carlson did a whole monologue making fun of AOC for being worried about being killed. She is serving in a chamber with a woman who wants Nancy Pelosi to be shot in the head and wants H&O to be hung. I don't know what the defense for that is, that she was talking about Hall & Oates. Like, she has to provide some sort of defense, I guess. She's calling it fake news. But she totally liked those things. And you mentioned that this was before she ran for office, which is true, but let's be clear, it was right before she ran for office.
Right.
These posts are in 2018 and 2019. This is not a long time ago. This is years into Donald Trump being president. And the most we can hope for, as I'm sure you'll go into, is a stern talking to, maybe. Or maybe a not so stern talking to, honestly.
Well, of course, she's gonna have Republican lawmakers who are gonna try to protect her, even though I do believe she poses a threat. I mean, you had congressional lawmakers who were concerned about Lauren Boebert giving reconnaissance tours to groups of people the day before the Capitol riots took place. I would like an investigation into that. I really would, because if I were in Congress, I would be concerned about my safety as well. If you have people who believe in insane QAnon conspiracies serving in Congress alongside, you and other lawmakers, yeah, there's some concern that maybe this person is sharing details about your whereabouts or when Congress is gathering, where they're gathering, what they're doing. It's not a fun situation to know that your colleagues believe in these theories, and not only these theories, but agree with comments calling for you to be met with great physical harm. So Tucker Carlson, though, wants to minimize this, and he did that on Fox recently. Let's hear what he had to say.
We're watching a profound change taking place in American society, and it's happening very fast. The stakes could not be higher. There's a clear line between democracy and tyranny, between self-government and dictatorship. And here's what that line is. That line is your conscience. They cannot cross that. Government has every right to tell you what to do. Controlling the behavior of citizens is one of the basic prerogatives of any organized society. It's why we have it. Government can try to prevent you from committing murder or rape or from speeding or jaywalking. That's all allowed. It's legitimate. But no democratic government can ever tell you what to think. Your mind belongs to you. It is yours and yours alone. Once politicians attempt to control what you believe, they are no longer politicians. They are by definition dictators. And if they succeed in controlling what you believe, you are no longer a citizen. You are not a free man, you are a slave.
Wait, so is he against slavery all of a sudden? Maybe he can evolve.
That's funny. Yeah, no. I mean, he'll be against slavery when it's convenient for whatever argument he's making at any given moment. And for this argument, it fit, pretending to be against it. But anyway, what do you think about how he's framing this, right? Where this is just about thought policing, nothing more. Totally minimizing the type of threat that QAnon conspiracy theorists, especially in Congress, can pose to lawmakers, to people who are just trying to do their jobs. I mean, it's just, Tucker Carlson is the same guy who just fearmongered about Democrats forcing you to drink Starbucks coffee every day. That's what he did. The real threat, he believes, is Democratic lawmakers forcing you to drink Starbucks coffee every day. He did a segment on that.
Yeah.
So Democratic lawmakers are a threat. QAnon conspiracy theorists, the good guys. Don't touch them, because if you do, it would be thought policing.
Yeah, there's how he's framing it. There's also how he's presenting it, which is so condescending, the tone of voice, and it's happening very fast. The stakes couldn't be any higher. The way he's talking to them, like, how do they not get how condescending that is?
Yeah.
But there's a couple, I mean, it's understandable what he's doing. The government is not trying to control what you think. That's nonsensical, that's not what they're doing. We're concerned about people who want to murder their colleagues potentially doing it. And stopping people from committing acts of domestic terror, that's not new. It really doesn't have anything to do specifically with QAnon. It's just that that's the most recent strain of right-wing crazy that we potentially need to deal with. But also, he is making this a conversation about thought policing and all of that because he has to bamboozle his audience into focusing on, as I talked about on TDR yesterday, it always has to be some vague thing that can't be measured and doesn't arguably exist at all, rather than, do we need to provide aid to the American people over COVID? Do we need to do something about the wage gap or the wealth gap? These measurable things that actually have to do with people's lives. He would say that his audience has been left behind by the ruling elites. Remember, he says that term every 3 months, and so people believe he's a populist. And yet he's always talking about Starbucks coffee and stuff like that. It's weird that he doesn't actually advocate for those things. But anyway, and so, okay, let's say that now all of a sudden this is a thing that he's really worried about. Okay, so he says that people being worried about white nationalism, which he was defending like a day ago, or QAnon, which he's defending last night, is suddenly a massive issue. How dare you police the way people think? Okay, do we want to roll the entire last year of Tucker Carlson? What did he talk about? What did he say about BLM protesters? What does he believe about Antifa? Does he believe that it's the greatest expression of free speech and Americanness? No, he doesn't. because he is like a regular person for certain things and against other things. But he has to state all of these things as absolutes that only a dummy wouldn't agree with. The whole thing to an intelligent person that hasn't already bought into his cult is mappable from floor to ceiling. You know exactly what he's doing. But I'm sure it's compelling to some people, especially people who are feeling burned by the fact that Donald Trump lost the election and now they don't know what to believe. And so he's providing something. Don't think about how the Republican Party should reformulate or anything like that. Just focus on the fact that there's a dictator in your face. And he's really like, and the dictator is the one that was targeted by a murderous cult, which is weird. But that's the fear. Just focus on that. And he's very successful. That's why he's so popular at Fox at gearing people up to be really scared about something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, when you think about Biden's efforts toward unity in the country, I mean, if he's genuine about it, he's got to take a more comprehensive approach, right? There used to be common sense regulations on news in the United States that were repealed in, I believe, the 1970s. That had a disastrous effect. I mean, as soon as that happened, that's when you started seeing companies like Fox News pop up with this type of obvious slanted news that doesn't even abide by journalistic standards, ethics, ensuring that they're actually giving people accurate reporting, ensuring that they're not 100% dedicated to their profit motive as opposed to getting people the truth and informing American people, because that's the heart of a true democracy. You need an informed public to make the right decisions once they're out there voting or engaging in politics. But we don't have that right now. So is Biden looking at that? Of course, I doubt it. I doubt it. But it needs to be more of a comprehensive approach, because while he's thinking of unity in terms of how can congressional Democrats and Republicans work together, what he should be really thinking about is what type of facets in society have further divided its constituents, right? Like what has led to the polarization and the anger and the divisions in this country. And when you're getting divisive content night after night after night after night, the fear-mongering content from Tucker Carlson, the fear that sets into these audiences, I think is a real problem. So there needs to be a discussion about that as well. But we'll keep talking about that. Maybe I'll do a segment on those regulations that I was talking about, because they're important. News really did change in this country after they were repealed.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.